So, hi everybody. It's so nice to see you, Bree.
You
Uh,
too.
this is our first live, and I love that we're two introverts coming on here in the house, right?
We're so brave.
uh, but yeah, I guess we wanted to come on here and just chat a bit about our upcoming workshop and speak freely and just chat a little bit more about the different modalities that we both are a part of or share with our communities.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun that we both have similar communities in some senses, like a little bit of spiritual, a little bit of collab, a little bit of business. So, which is awesome. And then that's my jam really is integrating, um, different parts of ourselves into what we offer to people. So it's really cool to see another like-minded person.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I was definitely like going along the path of business focus, like really in my masculine energy a lot until I decided, no, I really need to return back to who I am and the type of work that I want to do. So that's when the Wupreneur School was born. It was like, let's bring everything that I've done so far into one place, the collaborations, the sales and marketing stuff, and then the energetic stuff, bringing it all together and having it be like, one holistic kind of home.
Absolutely. No, I
Mm.
totally agree with you. I had all the energetic tools like going into my business, but something about like being on the entrepreneurial journey, it's like sometimes you like revert back to the way you used to be and like just pushing through, uh,
Yeah.
trying to do as much as possible and get new products, new offers out into the market and forget to pause and fill our cups. So that's definitely part of the lesson I think all of us have to go through for sure. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Let us know if you're watching and replay or live if that, resonates for you and like you kind of are or have been on a similar path. Because I know that, like you say, there's lots of people experiencing similar, business kind of energy like space, like we are just kind of being pulled back to what it was like in our corporate job or what it was like in like previous roles that we've had. And the cool thing about our business, which we forget often, like I certainly do, is that we get to choose how we show up. We get to choose what we offer. We get to choose like all of these things. And yet we kind of fall back into bad habits. And yeah, we'll get there. We'll evolve into something different eventually.
yeah, for sure. And I think it's because the digital landscape is a little confusing for people. Like it can be overwhelming when everyone is telling you to do all these different things. And so I think
Yes.
it's like the picking and choosing aspects. And I know that on my journey, I had this like human design reading, and I've gone a little deep into that. I'm more deep into gene keys for anyone who knows that modality. But yeah, someone did a reading for me, and then I tried to kind of go against it, and I was like, you know what, I'll still try to do the ads. I'll try to crank out a lot of social media, even though she was like, no, yours is all about community and networking and collabs. And so of course, like after some trial and error, um, I realized like, oh, let's just go back to what I know best how to do and naturally do. Right. And so
Mm.
yeah, that's part of the process as well. I don't know if for you, like it was a journey in kind of discovering your marketing strategy and what worked for you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I I really want Facebook ads to work for me, but for some
Yeah.
reason they just don't.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I've noticed is that I talk to people who already like my messaging is really like bottom of funnel kind of talking. Like I can't get back into the top of funnel. So, Facebook ads just are expensive for me because I'm like talking to someone that already knows what's going on, and a problem aware, a solution aware, all of the things. And so there's just not as many people for Facebook to find. So, um, sometimes I don't actually, want to advertise to people that are super unfamiliar with like even the energetic stuff that I want to, promote more because like that's an education piece that can get a bit messy. Like it can just take over, right? It can be all you do, teaching how people understand all of that rather than getting them to do the work and doing the work with them. So that's what's challenging for me, for sure. Um, I haven't had like a proper human design, um, what do we call map or whatever, like done,
Mm.
reading, I suppose, because I don't know my birth time, so I can't get like super accurate
Oh,
information.
I
But
could
in
still
saying that,
put like 12 p.m. and it'll be pretty close.
yeah, it'll be close. It was definitely, like, in the middle of the night based on what mum shared, but, I from what I've done, I can pretty confidently say that I'm a manifesting generator, and when, one of those aspects of that is, like, waiting to receive the answer, like, so for me, it's like I have an idea, but if I let it sit for a little bit, and it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be for long, but just to know that like it's the thing I need to do. And also when people like work with me or whatever, I want them to almost give me like their information, like their sort of situation first before I can kind of like interviews like this, I love to have other people ask me questions and then I'm like easy to respond. Um, and whereas sometimes I'm like, if I can riff on things, that's cool. But I find like, responding to questions a lot easier to do. So it's so interesting. I would love to do more in like getting to understand, what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like we have similar designs.
Yeah, probably.
Uh, for sure. I think for the people who are like multi-passionates, like a lot of them ends up being manifesting generators.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate you saying, I think you are narrowing down essentially your niche,
Mm,
based on your preference to not necessarily educate people who are right at the beginning stages of
yeah.
their spiritual energetic journey.
Yeah.
I feel similarly. So it's like
Yeah,
clear about who you're really serving in the end.
for
Uh,
sure, for sure.
but yeah, and also I think knowing your design is helpful for knowing what you contribute to your clients. Because a lot of the times, like I get projector clients, and I think they like working with me because I'm always like, I'm almost like manifesting for them. I'm generating ideas and manifesting for them.
Yeah.
And so they like, they hire me for that reason in a way. And it's not to say that they don't have their own ideas or whatever. It's just, they're there to serve and to teach and to lead, and so it's a different approach, overall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Cool. So, I thought it might be cool to like for us to share a little bit about what we're doing in our workshop, but also for me and for others to like understand what you're sharing because some people might already know a little bit about tapping and EFT, but I'm happy to like explain what's going on with that. But I think that maybe even though it's not like what's the word, like front of mind, people aren't like it's not gosh, there's a word, I can't think of it. Like public knowledge, people aren't super familiar with tapping. I think that like theta healing is probably like way removed from that. So there might be people like going, what's going to happen here?
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd be happy to share a little bit more about it. So, just generally, it's a modality that is kind of a combination of meditation, prayer, and psychology. So, it's really focused on mostly your limiting belief patterns, really getting to the core of why you're seeing the patterns that you're seeing in your life. And a lot of times we're blocked from understanding truly what's going on in our subconscious mind. And our subconscious rules 99% of our reality. So we're really creating our reality from that space. So we definitely want to go in and excavate that and understand the patterns that were wired in us since, the ages of 0 to 7 is primarily, when it gets baked in. And you know this. uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it really can be applied honestly to all areas of your life. When I initially started working with people, it was truly, to help people find their soulmates, cure diseases. I mean, really, I've seen so many miracles happen with this modality. And what we're here to really share is specifically around the idea of helping people speak in public and help them speak with more flow, meaning to be able to channel information from their higher selves. And that's not always straightforward. uh,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of us have had various voice scars, especially women, I would say. That's almost intergenerational as well as
Yes.
having to be quiet in certain circumstances, not necessarily speaking up when you want to speak up. Um, being in certain situations where maybe you got embarrassed and then that muted you. So there are just so many different aspects of the voice that really can be excavated and cleared for many of us. And I know I've been on my long journey of that. I think especially there are some of us who are called to be in on the healer path in some way that have what you want to call witch wounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think sometimes it's difficult to start talking about these subject matters when they can be taboo. So that's one thing is just honestly coming out and sharing this type of information is takes a lot of courage. But I think it's also just for any entrepreneur coming out and sharing their story to an audience and really getting deep into their narrative can be a challenge for sure to be vulnerable like that in front of people. Uh,
Mm.
and so, I think what we're here to really share is different techniques to understand what those underlying patterns are, where they originated from, and what's the wounding, and ultimately also what's the lessons, right? Because whenever we're in a situation that's triggering us, um, most likely it's there to show us something. So for a
Yeah.
situation where we feel like, for example, someone else is overbearing, like you're in a conversation and someone else is like taking on the authority figure, powerful stance, and then you're not able to have a mutual exchange in the conversation, that's a form of like energetic block. And then you might want to investigate, okay, where did I have other authority figures kind of step over me over my lifetime or past lifetimes, and look at that in a deeper way and really excavate the stories without living in the stories either.
Yeah.
So we actually don't want to go into the story for more than 3 minutes. because then we're actually manifesting it for ourselves again, because
Yeah.
as we speak, that is a form of that's kind of a spell into the world, right? So if you talk about the trauma for too long, which is I think why sometimes talk therapy can sometimes make things worse if you're not actually releasing it and moving on from it, right? Like for me, there are some past memories that I really, really don't dwell on ever again anymore. And that's when I really know it's resolved. Like it's almost like it's erased from your memory. That's kind of what it is. I mean, it's kind of there, but
Yeah.
there's no emotional attachment to it anymore. And that's
Yes.
you've gotten past that specific trauma.
Mm.
So, but yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a very
so cool.
intuitive, it's an intuitive guided modality, and it's called theta healing because we have different brain waves, alpha, beta, theta, and when you're in the theta brainwave state, that's when you can reprogram your brain. That's when you're in a really calm state where you can have more suggestions, and that's kind of what hypnotists do too, right? Like they take you through a process, and then you're like 3, 2, 1, right, and your brain is just like calming down, and then that's when your nervous system is able to accept new programming as well.
Yeah, so cool. I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of crossover with some of the modalities that I use as well, like hypnosis, as you shared, and it also it sounds close to timeline therapy or time techniques that I also use. But it's going to be so fascinating and exciting to like experience this myself for the first time. For those that aren't like already across what we're doing, so we're actually co-hosting a workshop for both of our communities next week, Thursday my time, Wednesday your time over that side of the world, and we're both, taking our people, our community through the theta healing first, and then I will be doing a tapping afterwards. So it's so cool that you kind of what you shared about like not spending a lot of time on the negative, not spending a lot of time on those, those traumas, those things that are like keeping you back, because it made me think about how tapping, whilst we do tap on the negative, we're not dwelling there. We're actually just surfacing it. We're not kind of like repeating it to the point where, like we're living it again or we're experiencing it again, or that, we're reinforcing it. Because, as you kind of alluded to, when you're in that um, theta state, when you're in a trance or at subconscious level, when we're talking to your subconscious believes everything you say. Like it understands, it doesn't know the like the truth or the lie. And so anytime you say something to yourself, it believes that to be true. So we want to be really careful what we're, telling ourselves over and over again, but also what we're kind of embedding at that subconscious level. So yeah, I love how tapping doesn't dwell on it, but it does raise it up. And then you can take that information and like go deeper into it. Like I love to use tapping as like a um, kind of, yeah, surfacing tool, like to get people to unconsciously bring stuff up. And then we can go, okay, so something that, was really strong for you, you had a really strong reaction to or response to was this. Let's now talk about like what's going on there. And then we can kind of release it as well. So I tap with the negative first and then release with positive. So what's going to happen in our workshop is that the theta healing is going to like kind of help bring things to resolution and bring things up, and then I will take that information. We're going to put it into a custom GPT that I've created for tapping. Take all that information, and it's going to create a script for me to take people through to then take, like go further with. So the cool thing about using my GPT is that it's going to be really quick. It's going to be instant. it's going to be true, like in terms of what was shared with everyone, what, was brought up, what was raised. And we can also instantly share that script with everyone. So if they want to continue the work, if, things were really, useful in that session, they can keep tapping on it going forward, and potentially, you know, having cleared the negative aspects, those negative affirmations, the things that we keep telling ourselves, clearing that, and then just continuing to do the positive affirmations and like tapping around that. So, yeah, I don't know if too many people are unfamiliar with tapping, but just a really quick explanation. Basically, we tap on meridian points. So we have points all over our body that is like our energy system. And there's points that we like to tap on. There's eight, I mean, 8 points that we tap on, and they go around like our face a lot, and then a couple on our body, and then one on top of our head. We start off by tapping our hand here to set up the statement, and then we go through our body and like we say out loud the things that have been shared and part of the script. We tap and say those words, and yeah, every time that I do it, people are like amazed that they're able to surface things they didn't know was there. That they have like the physical kind of release. The body feels different, and like energetically you start to feel like it's almost like you raise your frequency a little bit, um, which is, why I do the positive affirmations at the end, because it really helps raise the frequency. Um, but yeah, like it can be quite a short experience. You can tap for like, 15 minutes or longer, depending on what you need. But we'll see how long, we need to go based on the session. Um, and then we can kind of, explore what came up in that as well. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope that, both our communities are looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, and I love what you shared in our blog post as well. Honestly, I like this combination of tapping with theta healing, because the tapping is the somatic part. Like you said, it's like you're actually doing it in your body, which, I
Yeah,
think they need healing on all levels ultimately. But yeah, I just honestly started because I was explaining to you that I now have like back to back where I'm like interviewing people or I'm on podcasts. So, I'm trying to expand my container for how much I can go out and speak. And so it's really,
yeah,
really helpful to tap in between sessions just for this
yeah,
cleansing. And honestly, you don't even have to say much. Like I just started even just singing and with the tapping, on the head
yeah,
was
beautiful,
enough for me to just like break up the energy and get
amazing.
a bit more in a higher state for like my next interview and still feel like I'm on top of it, right? So
Yeah, good. I'm so glad that you integrated that after we talked. So, and I'm happy that to hear that it's helping you. So good.
yeah, I definitely think it's something I think like we said that you can do, pre, during, and post like a speaking engagement, right? So
Yeah.
um you can do it as a way to like psych you up and before a speaking engagement, and then during you can, if the other person is open to it, you can kind of like involve them. And similarly, sometimes I involve people in my community in like a little mini prayer to be like, hey, I really want the best and highest outcome from this. I want best conversation to flow and for it to be exactly what our audience needs, right? So it's like those affirmations, prayer, tap together with tapping. And then, once you're done with the speaking, it's like so much energy goes into it. How can you refill your cup with that too? So I think it's a
Mm,
brilliant modality for speaking or facilitating in some way.
yeah, absolutely.
So definitely encourage you all to learn more about it. but yeah, what are your thoughts? So we're also specifically, like I mentioned, tackling this part about speaking with flow, right? So being able to show up like we're showing up and just speaking from the heart, right? No script involved, which
Yeah.
takes some courage. But sometimes is exactly what you need to do, right? Like myself have tried to do like those planned teleprompter scripted videos and have just been like, this is not me, first of all. Secondly, it didn't allow for some spontaneous thought to come through, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes like I think people tell me that, and this is kind of what happens in the theta healing sessions, is that something will come through and I don't know that it's exactly what that audience member needs to hear. Like, I'm just saying what comes to mind, but actually
Yes.
the download for one person in the or maybe several people in the audience. And so how can we adapt to our audience, right? Because we might think that they're from a specific persona. Like, we might have some ideas of who they are, but we're not
Mm.
going to know, their psyche, where they're coming from. So we all have to come and improvise based on who is there, right? And what is their input into what we're saying, because it's a two-way conversation. I mean, on this I can't really see who's on the other end right now, but
Yeah.
give us a wave if you're
Yeah.
there.
Tap the hearts if you're still with us.
Yeah, exactly. But like in other stages, right, where you actually see the other people and you can ask them questions, and then you can engage in a way that is building upon your expertise and is like exactly the words that they need to hear in that moment. So I think that
Mm.
is special sauce that we all have to cultivate in order to be
Yes.
more impactful, uh, and attract. I mean, ultimately, when we're talking in the business realm, we want to attract ideal clients as well.
Yeah.
It's a powerful skill, and I think first and foremost, we have to give ourselves the permission to and the belief that we can connect with a higher power, that is
Yeah.
possible, right? Because if we don't think it's possible, then of course we're not going to believe in it being ultimately this like soulful conversation. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so yeah, I think that's the start. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything you would add in terms of like, what would help. Obviously, with the tapping can help um, people release their nervousness so they get into like a better, regulation,
Mm.
able to receive that information. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was looking to my side because I was looking for a book that I have, and then I realized I actually have it on ebook, so it's not actually
that's
the right format. But it's by the same people that wrote this book, Creating Money, and it's actually a channeled. They channel the book, so
Mhm.
it's Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer, but they have their guides, actually, Oren and Deben write the book with them, so it's co-written. So they have a few books, and one of them is Opening to Channel, and I started reading that book, um, and like, because I know that I channel, but I don't trust that I channel, and
Mm,
so when you were talking about what you were sharing, it was actually, like, trusting your intuition is really important, but trusting that you are actually channeling, and, like, it doesn't have to be that you're, like, a, medium or, someone like that. It can be knowing that you're receiving guided information, and that can be from self or it can be like feeling like it's coming externally.
mhm.
That's my interpretation of it. um but it's something that I need to, like, I I say need because I want to, but it's like I feel a need that I should be working on, cultivating this for myself as well. So again, this is like something that I'm really looking forward to, witnessing in you during the workshop and seeing how you trust that information that's coming through. Because for me, like, I know that because the way I receive my information, it's a knowing. There's no visual. I don't have like can't see anything. I can't hear anything. I know the information, which I think is clair sentient.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which is funny that I'm like I think it because like that is how I'm receiving information. Um, and that is hard to trust because
Mm.
am I thinking it or am I receiving it? And so for me, the thing that I try and practice is if I see an object or see a thing that's happening like externally to my world, if I see this card like pop up somewhere, you know, it means something. Like, and if I
Mhm.
don't take action on that thing, I know that I haven't taken action on it because something has happened in a result, and my brain goes back to the moment where I saw the thing and I didn't do it. So it can be even as simple as like I see my headphone case, like my AirPod case, when I'm going out the door, but I don't pick it up to put in my bag, and then later on I'm like, oh god, I wish I had my AirPods.
Right.
So like
Right.
I need to witness that and acknowledge that I'm not that I'm not always trusting my intuition.
Mm.
Um, and just need to do better, honestly. I just need to work on trusting that. So I guess, or Melanie shared that it's claircognizant. Yeah, that
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
familiar. Yeah. Um, how I'm curious, Michelle, how did you cultivate that trust in yourself and knowing that that's something that you actually are receiving?
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, people have different, clear abilities. Um, and I think for me, it comes in the form of pictures and it comes in the form of feelings as well. Sometimes smell, which is interesting too. um, and so I think I have a little bit of mix of everything at this.
Yeah.
But I think initially I definitely was like, I'm getting this image, but like I don't want to say it out loud because this sounds absolutely crazy. Like some of the messages that I've received for people, but I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna say it anyway. And
Mhm.
then it ends up being a co-creation with the other. If it's like with a client, ends up being a co-creation because they're the ones who are interpreting what the images mean to them because I may not have
Yeah.
all the information. But for me, it's this like starting point of, okay, this is where we need to look. And now we're going to excavate over here. So it's like, these clues that are helping us. But I think to your point, it's like we're all getting these intuitive hits. And when we see that we're not trusting them, and then it shows us anyway. That is a confirmation that you have the intuition, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully next time, like, oh, okay, if I get this information, it's for real. Like I need to trust this. And I've had some situations where honestly, I think I was like getting information to get out of danger, and so
Yeah.
that's real a practical skill to have for sure.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yes.
so it's not just, to be able to speak eloquently. And to your point too, we don't all have to be mediums or as a profession to be able to do this. I really believe it's every person's right, honestly, to have that higher connection, if they so desire. So I think that for me, honestly, I grew in my abilities the more I was doing the subconscious belief. So the more you clear out from your system, the more energy is generated towards creating and not dwelling on past and future issues, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
more that you can release that from your thought patterns, then then you just become a lot more powerful. And then your channel is also much clearer as well. So
Mhm.
that is like, I think the key is that the more you can release some of those patterns, the more fine tuned your clairs become. And
Yeah.
actually, the more gifts you start to have, there's new ones that can come in at any point in time if you're
Yeah.
ready for them. And the more
Yes.
you go, through a frequency change as well. So,
Yeah, so cool. I love that. It reminded me of earlier on in my like online business career, I started as a soul purpose coach, and I was actually doing a lot of like the intuitive oracle readings and stuff. And like I'd pull a card, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to help, but people would have like oh yeah, that was so, and my intuitive like reading of the card, was always received well. And so it was kind of like, how do I do this? Like, how am I, like I sort of surprised myself, um, that I was
mhm,
able to do it, and for it to be received, which was, yeah, really interesting, on my early journey. And then more recently, I think how it shows up is when I'm like coaching people, through a transformation and knowing the question to ask. Like, obviously I'm certified in coaching, so I know like logically how to converse with people and get those answers, but I don't really know until I know intuitively the questions to ask based on what they're doing. So it can show up in so many different ways, I guess, is what I'm reflecting as we're talking. And I fully trust both of those ways of receiving information. That sometimes I don't trust, is when I'm like doing a live stream solo, and I don't know that I don't I don't have any like visual representation that it's landing with people, and then you start to question. Your brain goes, "Oh, maybe this isn't the information that they want to hear." Right. That's the thing that I think struggles with, and this is what we've talked about, like, would probably be what we actually are working on in the workshop as well, because that's a thing for a lot of people, I think.
yeah, is the trust piece,
Yeah.
really, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I appreciate, you sharing your journey for sure.
Yeah.
And mm, yeah, I encourage anyone to start, even with a meditation practice, and start asking questions. Like, start asking questions before you get on a live, and see if you get any answers, like any hits. Rather than start with ChatGPT, start with, you know, um, getting centered and asking, okay, what is in the highest and best for me to talk about during this? Or it could be a simple prayer of, please like co-create with me as I speak
Yeah.
through this live, and just having that trust that it's gonna land with the right people, right? I mean, we're also not
Yeah.
talk to everybody, like we talked about it earlier, but it's for those specific, key individuals. So
For sure.
who cares if it doesn't land with everybody, right? It's for somebody. So you
That's
have
right. As long as one person gets what they need out of what
yeah,
we've shared today, what we share in the future, like that is enough, I think. Sometimes we don't know that one person has had we've had an impact on that person. So I just want to say, like, if it has, you don't have to share it now with us, but like send us a DM, let us know so we know that it's landed for someone. Because that's going to help me and others. Like, trust that in the future as well, and know that, okay, there was actually someone watching, listening, experiencing the same thing at
yeah.
the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, if any of you guys have like specific questions or challenges that you're going through, when you share, when you speak, like I think I vulnerably told you that, sometimes when I'm doing an interview, um, sometimes I feel really, really comfortable with the other person because maybe I've already established a rapport with them
Yeah.
or, we just have a great exchange and that's so that feels good, right? But what if
Mm.
you're with a stranger and you don't quite know how they tick, and so you're trying to navigate the conversation, right? And so that can be a little bit stressful sometimes. So I
For
think a
sure.
lot of us, can go through that, especially with again with people that we don't know and holding that conversation and again being a container, a facilitator for it. And so yeah, that could definitely be something we could collectively work on. Sometimes
Yeah.
I do healings that end up benefiting myself as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, I'd love to hear from the audience. You guys can message us here or privately. What are your challenges with coming out and speaking and being visible, or at least the ones that you might see, right? Because a lot, again, some things are hidden, and we'll definitely uncover some of that together as a collective. Because I do feel like when we show up in a group, there's always something that we have in common. Like it's really
Yeah.
magical how this happens. But I always find that there's a pattern with who shows up, so we're here to excavate that and to see what the deeper, imprint is beyond the surface level of, oh, I get nervous for this. Like, okay, why? Why is that? Is there, a specific person, that you had a situation with, So, um, yeah, I like getting to the bottom of things.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's like detective work.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. My husband calls me Detective Bree sometimes when I'm trying to figure out things. So yeah, that totally resonates.
That's awesome.
So funny.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, I like the idea of doing it simultaneous with tapping. It's just I think um, I'm a proponent of multiple modalities. I've studied several different ones,
Yeah.
but yeah, you really want to get your body on board, your emotions on board, and your spirit on board. And honestly, each of them has its own layers of things that work for them and, solutions. So, find the ones that are best for you. And I think it's great to have like even just a ritual, before you go on. And that way you can just trust and feel so much more comfortable and confident. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Cool.
Candid.
Well, it was such a pleasure to hang out with you.
Yeah, you too.
I hope that more people join us. Definitely just reach out to one of us and we'll share the link so you guys can join for free if you come live. And we're going to share the recording as well for any of our members. So,
Yes, exactly. Beautiful.
uh
Oh, thanks for inviting me on this. First time I've done a Substack live stream, so this was fun.
yeah, it really
Good to get
was.
it out of the
I
way.
like the interface of it. So this is great.
Yeah,
I'm so glad
absolutely.
we're opening it up to more voices. So that's great.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to everyone that joined us, and yeah, we'll catch you hopefully in the workshop.
Yeah.
All right.